Tonight, the U.S. officially reaches that grim and heartbreaking milestone. 200,000 American lives lost.
The highest death toll in the world. Here at home, Florida's COVID-19 numbers are finally on a downward trend, but until the pandemic is under control, domestic violence victims advocates are worried that fear will prevent victims from getting help.
People are weighing the danger posed by the pandemic versus the danger posed by their abusive partner. And sometimes even when they're very, very high risk, I mean, the things that they're sharing with us on their phone have us incredibly concerned. They're still more concerned about the risk to them, to their physical health, of living in a shelter, in a communal living environment.
Mindy Murphy, president of the Spring of Tampa Bay, the domestic violence center serving Hillsborough County, and Loriana Forsyth, the president of CASA, Pinellas County's domestic violence center, both say the fear that many of us are feeling now is a big part of an abuser's tactic to exert power and control over victims.
Gaslighting is, and a lot of people aren't familiar with that term, but it's when somebody is telling you something that isn't reality and you begin to believe it. And this is a very common tactic with abusers to control their victims. And COVID presents the perfect opportunity to provide misinformation.
They want victims to know shelters are still open across the Bay Area and there have been no outbreaks. Still, the low volume of calls for shelter is troubling.
Our calls for shelter are down, but that doesn't mean that people don't need services right now. So we're experiencing a huge volume of calls for all of the other services that we offer to folks.
Like emergency services, both the Spring and CASA can help victims get access to attorneys who can help them file injunctions in court to protect them from their abusers.
Outreach has, kind of been put on steroids. We have, we now have Zoom that we can do if it's safe for a survivor. We're doing more just over the phone. We're doing phone conferences. We're hosting groups, both via Zoom, closed groups for, a specific group of survivors, support groups, but also really just asking the survivor what is safe for her. One thing about the pandemic right now is that we have more resources in Hillsborough County than we've ever had for creating safe and stable housing for survivors, because there's all this Special CARES Act money to help get people rehoused.
And if you're not ready to leave, help is still available.
Call the advocates, talk it through, create a safety plan that is best for you and your family in this point in time so that you can be as safe as you can possibly be, and then reevaluate it as the dynamics change.